Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Carlton People. Now, on this episode today, I've got a new friend of mine. This is the first time we've actually seen each other on a video. We've been chatting on Instagram for a while. A passionate blue bagger, I must say, and I'm excited to have her a part of it. Amanda, welcome.
Thanks, Terry. Thanks for having me.
I like that we're doing this. This is the first time we've seen each other's face, and this is the first time that everyone will see us seeing each other's face.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. So tell me a bit about you and how you get connected to the club. Where does it all begin for you?
So my mum is a Carlton supporter, and my dad is a Collingwood supporter. And I think if you asked me probably when I was like 5 or 6 years old, I would have said I'm a Collingwood supporter without any interest in football whatsoever. And then as I got sort of a little bit older, like 9 or 10, I decided that I did like football, but I was much more interested in the Blues. So I had to sit my dad down one day and tell him, I've decided I like football and I'm going for Carlton.
Wow.
He wasn't that happy about it, to be honest.
I don't imagine so. I mean, listen, it's a very important thing to do when you have children. I don't have children, but I imagine it's an important thing. You've got to carry on the tradition, and only one can win when you have two different clubs to support.
Yeah, and I think he said of all the clubs you could have chosen. It's like, yeah, but mum goes for them, and I was born in Carlton, and I just like them. So that's how. I just ended up making that decision, and then that's been it. I've just been on the train ever since.
Love it. So was this through lobbying from mum, or was it you just fell in love with something about the club, the logo, the colours, bit of everything?
It was a bit of everything. So my family is split down the middle pretty much of Carlton and Collingwood.
Okay.
And so it probably had to do with the people I was getting along with. All of my cousins are Essendon supporters, though. There's a lot of rivalry that goes on in our family.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine the banter at the table.
Yeah, there's a lot. And I really just, I did like the colours, but I think I was just hearing so much about Carlton, it probably just infiltrated my mind.
We have I guess it's a blessing. We have such a passionate fan base, but also we have this ability to attract the most positive news and as equally the most negative news as well. Long story short, any press is good press, that old saying, So
Yeah.
So what year are we talking about here? Like, when does your memory start kicking in? What's the time frame?
This is probably about sort of 95-ish.
Wow. Okay. So do you
Yeah.
remember much of the granny?
I do. I remember the 99 grand final much more closely, unfortunately.
Okay.
And because I think by then that was the time that I was sort of fully invested. And my dad's friend was a Carlton supporter as well. So we used to go to his place and like he'd have grand final parties. So, it was the first one that I really went to where I was a full supporter. It was unfortunate we didn't win that year.
No. I mean, it seems like we did win something because we beat the Bombers the week before. That seems to be like more important than the granny.
Honestly, yeah, for me, I think that felt like the grand final to beat Essendon.
It's the beauty of the rivalry, isn't it? It really has, in many respects, it's kind of like trumped what would have been a flag, but we don't care about the flag as much because we beat Essendon the week before.
Yeah, if I had known how long it was going to be, until another one came along, I might have felt about it differently.
Yeah, absolutely. So did you latch on to any specific players early on, or were you just all about the club from the beginning?
I loved Cooter.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I loved Cooter.
Yeah.
I loved the club as well. I remember going to the show and like buying the Carlton show bag, and putting up posters and stuff. But yeah, Cooter was my number one by a mile.
I was actually having this conversation this morning, about Kuda. And I was talking about, how there's that notion of someone like a Brendan Favola who people will say, oh, he probably played 10 years too late. Sorry, too late. I think Kuda played 10 to 20 years too early. And I'm just thinking, can you imagine him if he
Yeah.
was a first year player today, for example, his Instagram, his social media, his presence, his marketability, and his ability as well. He really did transcend the sport, and he looked like a 2022 player in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah. And people still talk about him that
Yeah,
way. Just an absolute icon.
yeah. He's so humble as well. He gives all the Carlton supporters the time of day if they reach out to him or see him in the street. He has this. I mean, this is what happens when you're a humble kid from Laylaw, like he
Yeah.
and I. You realize that the club gave him the ultimate opportunity and the ultimate sort of leg up, if you call it, in life. Obviously, he put a lot of hard work in and made a name for himself, but being a part of the Carlton Football Club kind of gives you a little bit more leverage in life, I think. And he's just such a. You're right. He's a real icon and a real role model.
Yeah, and he still seems to have so much love for the club, which I really love.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what's your early memories like? Like, do you remember going to your first game? What is that for you?
Yeah, the first game that I went to, I think I might have been maybe 12 or something, and my friend was also a Carlton supporter, and her parents were cheer squad members. So the first game I went to, I went with them, and I sat with the cheer squad, and that was a massive experience. And I think the next week, or maybe a couple of weeks after that, I actually went to the banner making, and I got to hold up the banner. So it was a pretty exciting time for someone who was just sort of getting into it.
Absolutely, yeah. I used to remember going to the footy and always looking on the ground at the cheer squad or whoever was involved, and throwing up the banner, and always wondering like what does it take to get there? Like, I used to think they were employees. I didn't know that they were just fans as a kid.
Yeah. Well, I thought the same thing until I
Yeah,
got to.
yeah. And then you meet them. Like, I know them really well. I speak to a lot of them regularly. It's quite. You know what? It's quite a unique tradition that I don't see in many other sports, the way we do it. Like, you have fans, but then to have we have a cheer squad that sit behind the goals every week, home and away, interstate as well, raise the banner. I can't think of any other sport in the world where players run through a banner, and it's kind of cool. I like it.
Yeah, that dedicated subsection of fans.
Yeah, absolutely. So you and I, obviously, we're 90s kids. We live through a little bit of success, but we don't really. I don't know if we were really at an age to appreciate it. I mean, I was 8 years old in '99, so I don't really remember it, if I'm honest. I remember watching tapes and footage and all of that, but I don't remember being into it like what we are today. So, what has the what has the pain been like, and then how do you navigate through the disappointment and the expectation and the hope?
It's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to navigate through the pain. Um, I have every year about this year, I get super excited, but I try not to get too excited because, you know, you know
I
what it
know.
can. Yeah.
Oh, I know.
But then I have friends who aren't Carlton supporters who are like, this is going to be their year. This is going to be their year. And I start to get a little bit more excited. Then the inevitable fall. I don't know. I don't want to be someone who doesn't have hope because I don't think there's much joy in that.
Yeah.
So every year I think clean slate, I'll get excited again. And then it'll get halfway through the season. I'll think, geez, I wish I didn't have that hope.
Yeah. I know we say this every year, but 2022 has a different feel to it.
We do
But
say
it
that.
really does.
I really do agree with you. I really do think that this year feels different.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, I think if we go back a bit as well, like the AFLW being introduced as well, and having it's a bit of a circuit breaker because it makes the preseason a little less. It sort of it cuts it up a little bit, and footy returns a lot earlier than what it usually does for us, and you get to see the club out in action. And I think it's been a bit of an underrated aspect of what's happened. I know that they're talking about moving the AFLW season to August, so we're not going to have that gap filler. But I think with the men in particular, there's just this. I don't know. There's just this understanding that there's so much talent, and then I actually start questioning myself at times, like, are we really talented, or do we just view these players in a better light than what other people do? And I think this will be the year in 2022 where we really differentiate whether this is a talented group or if it's not.
I do that too, and I try to check myself by asking opposition supporters whether whether I'm just being biased or if they actually legitimately think that player X is as talented as I think they are.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
about
So
50,
sorry?
it's about 50-50 whether they
Yeah.
agree with it or not.
So who are some of the players that you latch onto now? I mean, everyone's got their favorites. Who are yours?
Yeah, well, my favorite I'm scared to mention because it's Charlie Curnow, and I feel like talking about him is almost taboo.
It's sacrosanct.
And it's funny that I latched onto Charlie pretty early, but it came out of a game, maybe it was 2017, that he played against Collingwood. He had that really amazing game, and at the end of the game, my dad turned to me and just said, "That guy's a freak."
Yeah.
Um, and Matt Kennedy, who I have been a big fan of for a while, but he's really starting to prove things
Well,
now.
you stuck that with him. You absolutely stuck that with him.
Yeah.
And yeah, it seems like what would be nice for this group if a player like Kennedy would actually break out, because he's obviously had multiple years of, I wouldn't say, I don't know if disappointment is the word, but you just know, you feel like he's got more to give, and for whatever reason it just hasn't clicked.
Yeah.
So to have a story like him where he hasn't been playing a lot of regular senior footy for whatever reason, he hasn't been selected, gone through a couple of coaches, hasn't been able to impact the way that all of us would like him to. Then to see him start to flourish a bit, I think at the end of 2021, I think he started to show a bit more consistently what he could do. And obviously he's had a pretty good preseason and looks fit and lean and mean. And I think if we can get a couple of players like him who can go through the adversity and come out of it and become the best player that they've been, I think it's going to go a long way to turning this ship around.
Yeah, I think so too. And yeah, I think that the reason that I liked him so much was because I just thought he had so much potential. And I do think, sort of dropping in and out of the side, I thought, oh, if he just gets a chance and takes it, I'm sure that he's going to be so good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Sometimes you just need an opportunity. And it's oftentimes when players, I find, or people, when you feel like you've lost your opportunity and you feel like you're on your last chance and your back's against the wall and you've got no choice but to prove yourself or show what you can do, more times than not, that's kind of when it happens. And that's unfortunate because we've got a lot of players that we seem to be under pressure and they get to their backs against the wall moment. It'd be nice if we didn't get to that back against the wall moment, but nonetheless, what about the AFLW? Are you into that?
I'm very into the AFLW. Absolutely love it. Go to as many games as I can.
Yeah.
And have been on that bandwagon since the beginning.
Yeah. Well, talk to me about that. How have you seen the evolution of the game? Obviously, we bring in a women's league. It had been spoken about for a while. We finally get there. 6 years later, we're now talking about bringing in the remaining 4 clubs, which would make 18 and have a full complement of men and women's teams. So how have you seen the AFLW journey?
I've really enjoyed it. It's been so exciting to watch that growth. At the same time, I do wonder if it has maybe expanded a little bit fast.
Mm.
And I say that selfishly by thinking when these new teams come in, how many of our players are going to be jumping ship.
Yeah.
That part makes me nervous, but so much of it is so exciting and so inspiring. Going to that first ever game was unlike any football experience I've ever had.
Yeah, right.
Just the atmosphere there was unbelievable. The crowd, I think I got there maybe 10 minutes before they actually closed the gate and wouldn't let anyone else in.
Wow.
And just getting messages from my friends saying, I can't get in there, and people having to go to pubs in the area just to watch the game was incredible. Plus, we won, so that doesn't hurt.
That helps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed season 1, wasn't in the country. I think caught the end of season 2, and then pretty much from season 3 onwards, I've been watching. It is quite fascinating on a couple of fronts how quickly they've looked to expand, and I guess the mentality is they're just trying to get everyone to the starting line, so to speak, and kind of with that you're going to have some short-term pain, and I think especially with a new club like this is a 6-year-old club for the Carlton side of things, and I myself know what I'm like at the early stages of it. I'm always look to latch on to players, and the players sort of tell the story. Even though I love the club and whoever dons the Guernsey and the monogram, I'll always love and respect and whatnot. It is a bit of a shame that we are where we are in terms of losing players, and with new clubs coming in, we might lose more. But I also understand that it's just part of it, and that's just the reality of being a part of something that has just begun, and unfortunately there isn't enough money in the salaries right now to keep certain players. And if there are opportunities for them to earn close to full-time wages or full-time wages, like, you can't say no to such things. So I kind of get it. It's kind of bittersweet. And I'm also a little bit cautious of getting emotionally attached to too many of them in case they leave.
Yeah, that's the part that I find difficult, because I will latch onto someone so quickly
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
form like an emotional connection with them. But like you were saying, you can't blame them for wanting to leave if they can earn a higher salary. And also, you can't blame the supporters of the other 4 teams for wanting to have a women's team to support.
Of course. Yeah, I think we just need to get there. And I know it's going to come with criticism and all of that. But ultimately, when you plan and you strategize for a women's league, ultimately you want to have 18 coinciding women's teams for the men. You've just got to get there. And in many ways, it all really begins from next year because we have a full complement. So bit of short-term pain, hopefully some long-term gain. Hopefully we don't have the same turnover that we're having now. But do you picture the women's team winning at any time soon? Like, are you satisfied with where they're at as a group?
Oh, if you'd asked me 4 weeks ago, I would have said absolutely not, not even close.
Yeah.
And then they've had a good few weeks.
Yeah.
I think that if they keep maintaining sort of the pressure that they've put on now in the games, I think they can rise back up. It was pretty disheartening to see them go from like flag favourites and not being able to play to kicking 1 goal a game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm pretty vocal about like representing the club, and it's not like they're a baby team like some of the expansion clubs next year who may have some games where they kick 1 goal in a game or 2 goals. Like, I think that was where the frustration came from me. It's like, you're better than this. You're all better than this. You've got some, not just stars, like genuine superstars of the competition in the team playing healthy, fit. But it's just part of the knocks and the failures along the way.
Yeah, yeah. I hope it's just that. I hope it's not a cultural thing that's
Yeah,
going to stick around.
yeah, for sure. So the men will start today. We're filming on the 11th of March. The men will start on Thursday. What are you expecting to see? I know that we're keeping our emotions in check as best we can. We're trying not to get too excited, but What is it for you? What's a pass mark? What's your pass expectation?
For round one,
Well, just for the year ahead.
uh, winning more games than we lose
I like it. I like
would
it a
be,
lot. Yeah.
yeah, would be great. Um, uh, if there are 5-goal swings, because I'm not going to say that there won't be, that they don't just give up.
Hmm.
That was, I think, the most disappointing thing to see last year, just giving up on effort.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I'd like to see them apply themselves for the full game.
Yeah. I think I mean we dissect and watch every moment of every game really closely, and um, you can certainly see at times there was just a almost like an acceptance of what was rather than trying to dig in and change the reality. So I'm with you on that. I kind of expect there to be, I mean, there has to be some level of maturity as well. The
Yeah,
group, like, they're not teenagers anymore. They're not babies anymore. The first round draft picks don't just come into the team and play straight away. I know Sam Walsh is a bit different. He's very special, but we're not kind of in that situation where the teenagers who are getting drafted just come straight in because they're the future of the club. And I think that's a good thing for us. I think it's important for these teenagers to get a little bit of a hard start, get some hardship, have to really earn a game so they can value what it means to get a game. So it is a lot of hope, but nonetheless, we still have it.
yeah, that's right. I do agree with that as well. I don't want anyone just waltzing into the team and thinking that they can just get a spot off the back of no hard work.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I'm gonna ask you some questions on the spot
Okay.
about the year ahead, and we'll just see how it all plays out. We'll look back on this video one day and see what your radar was like. So, who do you think will lead the goal kicking this year?
I think it's going to be Harry again.
Okay, and what's the range? Give me a 10 goal range.
Uh, I think that I think it'll be between 55 and 65, but I expect the team overall to kick more goals than they did last year.
Absolutely, yes, that would be handy. I do agree with you there, and then I think also Charlie coming back. If anything, like if he's the Charlie that we think he can be, then we're in for a treat. But if anything, if he's just good enough to take a defender away from Harry, I think it's just going to help out both of them so much.
I would love for it to be Charlie. I'm just so mindful of putting expectations on him. He's been out for such a long time.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I would like to see him just get through a full season and then get that second preseason in a row and then really attack it next year. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, just excited to see him back, to be honest.
Yeah. Who do you think will win our best and fairest?
I think Patrick Cripps.
Yeah, he's big.
Yeah.
He's mean. I think he's back. There's a
I think
sense.
so too.
There's a sense around him. There's a health to him, and there's a different focus. I think also he's been given the captaincy now. It's just him, and I think with that will come that extra layer of responsibility. And sometimes you just need to be given the responsibility and thrown into the deep end, so to speak, and you can just grow from there. And I just think he's too good of a character to not bounce back.
Yeah, I think that his character has so much to do with it. I don't
Yeah,
think he's been that satisfied with himself from the past year. So,
yeah,
yeah,
love it.
I think he's
And
well.
then I want to ask you about who's like a really young player that might not be playing or maybe hasn't played more than 20 games or 50 games, who you think or who you're looking at for the future.
Corey Durden. You can answer
Yes.
that so quickly. Yeah.
You just, yeah, you just, And I mean, I know I'm biased because I sponsor him, but nah, he's got it.
He looks so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really excited to watch him develop and to watch him play more games.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got the right attitude, right character. And we seem to have a lot of those players with the right character.
Yeah, there are a lot of them. There are a lot of people I'm really excited to see, but Corey Durden is the first one who jumps out for me.
Love it. Final question. We're going to lift up this cup at some point. What year is it going to be?
I think it's going to be 2024.
2024.
Yeah.
So does that mean like a finals berth 2022, prelim 23, and then a granny, or are we just going to rise up and just go bang?
Um, no, I'm hoping for finals this
Yeah.
year,
Hmm.
but I'm not expecting us to win it this year.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, I think a bit more improvement next year. And then I think 2024. I'd like to say next year. I just haven't seen enough of them play under a new coach with a new game plan to know how quickly that stuff is going to take to stick.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. We'll revisit this in a couple of months and see how we're tracking.
Yeah, yeah. I hope
Yeah.
that I can watch this at the end of next year and say, "Oh, I was a year late."
Yes. Spot on. Hey, listen, Amanda, it's been really cool to chat with you. It's really flown by quickly, and that's generally a good indication of how much I've enjoyed it. So I really do thank you for your time. It's been good to meet you, and look forward to sharing some more good memories along the way.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Thanks for having me, Terry.